Hi, I'm Grace Taylor Loring, a career advisor here with the Illich School of Business. Thank you for tuning in again for another informational video and just learning more about how to develop yourself as a professional. Today we're going to be learning about building your personal brand, your professional personal brand. At the end of this, I'd like you to know yourself a little better, show yourself a little bit better, and share yourself consistently. And ultimately, how to stand out before you apply to a position. I'm sure when you hear the phrase personal brand, you might think of influencers or marketing, but really everybody has a personal brand, even if you've never thought about yours before. Every class project, email, your LinkedIn profile, conversations that you have with employers are really shaping how people remember you. And what people say about you when you're not in the room is your brand. It's more than just social media. This is your reputation. And oftentimes employers start building opinions about you before interviews. So what is personal branding? Let's start out with the basics. First, it's not being fake. It's not creating an online persona. It's not having the perfect LinkedIn profile. Your personal brand ultimately is a consistent impression people have after interacting with you. So it's about communicating who you are, demonstrating your value, and showing what value you bring. Why it matters? People hire people that they trust. Your brand helps answer who you are, what you care about, what value you bring, and why someone should remember you. Some research here to consider: about 75% of employers use social media or LinkedIn to maybe screen candidates ahead of time. And recruiters often only spend seconds making an initial impression on evaluation of candidates. So think about your resume as your qualifications, but your brand explains why someone should want to work with you. Every student, from resumes to your LinkedIn profile to your elevator pitch, should flow into these three layers. And we're going to talk more in depth about these layers, but you can think about this as an iceberg where people see your expression. An expression is how others experience you. Your identity supports it. So your identity is how you present yourself, but everything starts with your essence, and the essence is who you are. And we'll walk through this a little bit further. If you don't have a pen and paper already, I encourage you to grab one or just be ready to take some screenshots. So the first layer is essence. Before you worry about, again, perfecting your LinkedIn profile, perfecting your resume, you want to make sure that you know who you're trying to communicate. So your essence is the emotional core of your professional identity. So what do you want people to remember about you? It's not your major, it's not your job title or your LinkedIn header. It's the feeling that people have after working with you. You could say, I'm a marketing major. Or you could say something like, I solve problems. I make complicated things simple. I enjoy connecting people. I love using data to improve decision making. Again, instead of asking yourself, what job do I want? Maybe consider asking, who do I want to be known as? A good activity to start out with, I'd love for you to choose about 3 to 5 words to describe how you want others to experience working with you. Some examples: this could be reliable, creative, determined, innovative, empathetic, strategic, driven, resourceful, authentic. So when you think about Apple, before you ever buy an Apple product, you already have a feeling about the company. That is their brand. People have that same feeling about you. So when we think about Apple, some words that come to my mind are simple, intentional, and approachable. So when you're finding your essence, here's some questions to maybe ask yourself. What are strengths that people consistently compliment? What type of work energizes you? What problems do you enjoy solving? What values won't you compromise on? And how do you want teammates to describe you? If you skip this step, everything else is going to feel random. So it's really important to sit with this and answer these questions for yourself first. A good place to start, we have many behavioral assessments and career assessments through Career Services. I highly recommend you to schedule an appointment and meet with a career advisor. This is a really great starting tool. This tool, the Career Compass Navigator, takes about 15 minutes to complete. You'll pick about 3 to 5 items from each category. So skills and abilities, what are you really good at doing? Your interests, what do you enjoy doing? Your societal needs, who or how do you want to help? And then work-life balance. So what are your values? What are the principles that guide your decision making? And you'll scan this QR code after you sign in with either Google, Apple, Amazon using your WSU login. You will be offered some career matches, some titles, some opportunities that might make sense based on these attributes that you've assigned to yourself. And I definitely encourage you to schedule an appointment with a career advisor after to talk through the results. If you find this interesting, we have 2 other assessments as well that are much more in depth, take about an hour to complete, and can get a little bit more into the nitty-gritties. So you figured out who you are. The next question is, how do you actually want to show that to other people? And this is where we get into identity. So your identity is how your essence becomes visible, and it answers what evidence supports the person that you say you are. So again, it translates your personality into recognizable signals. For companies, this could be logos, voices, colors, missions, messaging. For you, or for any other professional, it's headshots, resume, portfolios, LinkedIn, email etiquette, communication style, elevator pitching. Imagine, you're at a career fair and you meet somebody who describes themselves as analytical and detail-oriented. And then you look at their resume and it's full of formatting errors, and their LinkedIn profile says they're a marketing creative, and those mixed signals might make it harder for you to understand who they really are. So it's really important that instead of having random documents, every touch point should say the same story, and you should create a system with it. So if you have one resume that you're submitting to every job that you apply to, it will often sound different and maybe not be the best representation of you. Strong brands, again, when we think about corporate brands, they're not memorable because they're flashy, they're memorable because they're consistent. Now, there's a lot of components here. Again, we're not going to lead you astray. Definitely encourage you to scan this code. We have drop-in hours for reviewing. You can also schedule an appointment to have a one-on-one appointment and review your strategy and your system with a peer advisor or with a career advisor. So again, credibility is built through consistency. When you think about, are my touch points consistent? Some questions to ask yourself. Does my LinkedIn accurately reflect and support my resume? Does my elevator pitch sound like my LinkedIn summary? Do my interview answers reinforce my strengths? Does my email communication match my professionalism? And does my online presence align with the career that I want? So next is expression. When we think about expression, every interaction, every touch point that you have either reinforces your brand or confuses it. And again, those touch points are going to be those system documents that we spoke about previously. So resumes, LinkedIn's, emails, portfolios, all items, that build into that identity. This is how people experience you. This is where your brand meets people. So some forms of brand expression. First, networking. Networking is relationship building. It's not about just collecting business cards and asking strangers for jobs, but it's about creating memorable experiences. People remember people not resumes. So they're going to remember your energy, they're going to remember your curiosity, confidence, authenticity, they're going to remember your follow-up messaging. And, elevator pitching. So this is your brand story. Every sentence should reinforce your brand. You could say, hi, my name's Grace and I'm a finance major. Or you could say something like, my name's Sarah. I'm studying finance because I enjoy helping organizations make better decisions through data. I've recently completed an internship analyzing budgeting trends for a nonprofit, and I'm interested in corporate finance roles where I can combine analytics with strategic planning. You can see how each sentence reinforces her brand and Sarah's goals. So let's talk about networking. I know, have you ever met somebody and you met them once and somehow you remember them months later and you haven't ran into them? Maybe think about what made that person memorable. Chances are it wasn't because they handed you a great business card or a perfect resume. It's because how they made you feel. So again, networking, I cannot reinforce this enough, but it's not one conversation. It's a long-term relationship. Some places to network: career fairs, employer informational sessions on campus or off campus, alumni events, student organizations, on LinkedIn, conferences with professors, and some conversation starters. What brought you to this company? What advice would you give someone entering this field? What skills do you see most often in successful interns? What has been your favorite project? What trends are impacting your industry? And don't forget to follow up. Follow up 24 to 48 hours later. Make sure to reference the conversation. I would stay engaged occasionally. If you say that you're going to follow up about something, follow up about it. Send a thank you email, quick little LinkedIn note, whatever feels appropriate in that context. Here's a challenge for you. I encourage you to attend one networking event this month, and maybe every month. At that networking event, I want you to introduce yourself to 3 new people and send at least one follow-up message in the 48 hours after. So we want to make sure, again, that the package matches the contents. So a couple of key things. I'm sure this might be something that are obvious things, but we want to make sure that appearance is professional enough for the event, whether that be business casual, snappy casual, business professional. We want to make sure that we open body language. We're shaking hands firmly when it's appropriate, keeping eye contact, smiling, and conversation. Again, maybe ask some thoughtful questions. And when you ask the question, listen. Be curious. Don't feel like you need to fill the space or dominate the conversation. So let's jump into elevator pitching. I'm sure this is something that some folks are familiar with. This is your 30-second introduction explaining who you are. Networking isn't just walking into the room, right, and asking for the job like we talked about before, but it's about being somebody that people want to talk to again. And this is going to be a super helpful component. So you want to introduce who you are, what are you studying, what are you doing, what's your relevant experience, your career interests, and either a question or a connecting conversation piece. So let's go through an example. So when we think about who are you, hi, my name's Maya. I'm a junior at Wayne State University studying marketing. The next component, what are you studying? What are you doing? I really enjoy using creativity and data together to solve problems, which is what drew me to digital marketing. What's your relevant experience? Last semester, I managed social media for a student organization where I helped increase event engagement by creating content and tracking performance metrics. Maya, what are your career interests? I'm currently looking for a digital marketing internship where I can continue building my skills in social media strategy, content creation, and analytics. And I'd love to hear more about your team and what you look for in successful interns. You can see here that Maya took time to walk through each component of who she is, what she's studying. She didn't list every class that she's taken or every responsibility that she's had. Instead, she told a clear story. Her pitch communicated who she is, what she's interested in, and why she's talking to you. A great elevator pitch isn't about saying everything. It's about saying enough to start a meaningful conversation. And also, we have a natural way of understanding this student's personal brand. So for me, in her essence, I see creativity, analytics, and curiosity. Her identity, she's already expressed, she's a marketing student with relevant experience supporting a student organization. And her expression was prepared, it was confident, and it was genuinely interested in learning. As you're building your elevator pitch, I encourage you to practice in the mirror, talk to yourself, and don't worry about necessarily memorizing it word for word, but really knowing solidly your essence and what those touch points are going to be for you. Again, if you're not sure to where to start, it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle. And sometimes other people understand our strengths before we do. I encourage you to ask friends, professors, managers, peers, mentors, just people in your community already. What 3 words come to mind when you think of me professionally? You'll likely notice a pattern here. So some takeaways. Your brand can and should evolve. They are not static, neither are careers. Your core, your essence should stay consistent. But how you express your essence will grow and evolve as you gain new experience, as you move into leadership roles, as you maybe go to graduate school or have career changes or industry changes. It will expand and evolve, and it's important that you are aware of that and take time to consistently evaluate your touch points, consistently evaluate your goals, and if that still aligns with how you're portraying yourself and defining yourself to other people. So an action plan. Let's talk a little bit about homework. So, and again, this doesn't need to be done in one weekend. This can be done in a couple weeks. I encourage you to take time, thoughtful time on this, intentional time on this to, again, make sure you're getting to the core of your essence first. So we want to write down, again, 3 to 5 words to define your essence. You can refer to slide 7 for this. Review every professional touch point. Review resumes, LinkedIn's, portfolios, previous emails that you've had. Practice introducing yourself. Maybe you jot down a couple bullet points on what you think is important for people to know and how you want to communicate yourself. Ask for feedback. Ask 3 professional contacts, what are 3 words that describe working with me? And again, adjust your touch points as you grow and you evolve. Keep coming back to this because if you've mastered it, then it might be time to evolve. And remember, people don't remember everything you say. They remember how you make them feel. And that is what your brand is. By reinforcing that this is not a fake persona. Branding is about intentionally creating your authentic strengths, values, and goals. When your touch points, your networking conversations, tell a consistent story, you become more memorable and make it easier for employers to see the value that you bring. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.